So $34 trillion in debt sounds scary. Should people be afraid?
No, they shouldn't. It's the word debt that makes people afraid. It's just keeping track of our savings. That's what it's really recording.
Debt is savings. We should all just stop stacking silver and gold, right? This is the insanity they want you to swallow.
The worst day on Wall Street since the crash of 1987.
We're now down 43%.
This could be the most serious recession in decades.
Protect your retirement with a gold and silver IRA. Learn more at sdbullion.com/IRA. Hey everyone, thanks for watching Yankee Stacking. Our national debt now tops $34 trillion, a record high. Should you be concerned? Nope. Our debt is actually savings. Yeah, woo. I guess I was wrong, my wonderful viewers and subscribers. It's time for all of us to just stop stacking silver and gold. I'm going to sell this monster box of silver maples. It's time for us to swallow some insanity, people. Completely buy in on modern monetary theory, MMT. Now, I've talked about MMT before. It's just the monetary version of our overall up is down, black is white, right is wrong, woke insanity that is raging in our culture today. You see, your understanding of what the word debt really means is completely wrong. It's being redefined by some Keynesian economists who have infiltrated not just the halls of academia, no, but the world's central banks, our financial institutions, even Congress and the White House. This epidemic of monetary madness, whether you know it or not, drives economic policy. It impacts even the price of eggs at your grocery store. I was emailed a fascinating yet admittedly nauseating clip from the National Proletariat Radio, aka NPR. In it, the host, Layla Fidel, interviews a professor of economics and public policy at Stony Brook University. Her name is Stephanie Kelton. She's a powerful mouthpiece for MMT. Policymakers at the Eccles building listen to her. So I urge you to listen to this video all the way through. You gotta hear what this woman says from her own lips. It's absolutely stunning. The first voice you're going to hear is the interviewer, Ms. Fidel, asking the question, and then Ms. Kelton responds.
So $34 trillion in debt sounds scary. Should people be afraid?
No, they shouldn't. It's the word debt that makes people afraid. And so when I think about this, you know, I look at this number and I think, well, it's just keeping track of our savings. That's what it's really recording.
Got it? That $34 trillion, it's really only a way for the U.S. government to keep track of savings. Guys, this is the whole redefinition push that we've been seeing in all areas of our Western society recently. But here, it's being done in monetary terms. They're literally trying to change the dictionary definition of debt this time.
So over the arc of U.S. history, the U.S. government typically spends on an annual basis more dollars into the economy than it taxes away from us. And so it's adding dollars. And over time, we keep track of how many dollars have been added. And what that 34 trillion is telling you is that over the long sweep of history, the U.S. government has put that many dollars into our hands without taxing them away. So what it is it's our after-tax savings that's being reported. So when you think about it like that, it really does kind of change your perspective. You say, well, should I be very worried about this large savings that has been accumulated? And I think that leads us in a very different direction.
Okay, so I had to listen to this belch from hell like 3 times to be able to comment on it. In other words, she's claiming that the deficit spending by our government, spending more than it takes in via taxes, is a wonderful thing. It causes our economy to flourish. We should celebrate our $34 trillion savings account. The government did this for us. And it did it without the burden of any confiscatory taxation, too. Garbage. Deficit spending is insanity. Our taxes are confiscatory. And this whole fiat currency-based, debt-driven, consumption-fed economy is fake. And it's unsustainable. Oh, but there's more.
But we often hear politicians, especially Republicans, compare the national budget to a household budget, as in the government should only spend the cash that it has. Is that a fair comparison? I mean, I know in your view it's very different.
Well, it is very different. And if they did that, then of course the rest of us couldn't accumulate any surplus. We wouldn't have that savings. If the government always took back exactly the amount that it put in, then by definition, the rest of us wouldn't end up with any extra dollars to hold on to as part of our wealth, as part of our savings.
There it is again. Surplus, savings. See how she reinforces the lie? The national debt is part of our wealth. Ludwig van Mises, Milton Friedman, they'd cough up a rat if they were alive to hear this garbage. She also outright mocks fiscal conservatism. I mean, if the government always just took back exactly the amount that they put in, that would be horrible. Excuse me, Stephanie, that is not the government's money. It's our money. The government can only take back, as you call it, what it is first given by us, the taxpayers. The big government entitlement to our wealth implied so stridently in her comments is absolutely disgusting.
So the big mistake here is in thinking of the federal government the way we think of an individual, our personal finances or an individual household. They're nothing like one another.
Partial truth here from this cult leader. The federal government does not function fiscally like a balanced budget household, like the Yankee household does, or a well-run company. No, but it ought to. And it actually could, once again, run that way with sound money, gold and silver. Our founding fathers knew this fact. We didn't need a central bank to have a limited federal government provide only the necessary services enumerated in our U.S. Constitution. Frankly, a balanced budget amendment is necessary. We need that. And by the way, it is a key part of a convention of states.
The federal government is the issuer of the currency, and the rest of us are users of the U.S. dollar. We actually have to go out and get it in order to be able to spend it. The federal government has to spend it before the rest of us can get it and either have it available to buy goods and services in the economy, to pay taxes, to buy government bonds, or to save.
She's saying, come on, the federal government isn't like you and me. They have to spend our money. They have to in order for us to get it back. We need deficit spending so we can buy stuff, pay our taxes. It's unbelievable. But yet, she is so deluded, she does believe this stuff.
But there are risks, right, associated with the growing national debt. In November, financial firm Moodys lowered its outlook on U.S. debt from stable to negative. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen disagreed with that decision, but acknowledged that current economic circumstances could make the federal debt less sustainable.
Yep, U.S. creditworthiness has dropped. Of course, that comes to you courtesy of a systemically corrupt rating agency. And I don't even want to talk about that woman, Janet Yellen, right now.
I mean, what are the risks associated with the growing national debt?
Well, they're not economic and they're not financial.
What kind of risks are they, Stephanie? Travel risks? dietary?
I think, the rating agencies have made clear over time that, what they're thinking about is not the federal government's ability to pay, because that is unquestioned. When you are the issuer of the currency, of course, you can never run out. You can't be forced into a situation where you cannot afford to make the payments, to meet the obligations. But you could become unwilling to pay.
Sure, we can always make payments until the value of the currency is complete crap. But she executes some more linguistic jujitsu here. She states that we might always be able to pay our debt obligations, but we might not always be willing to pay them. What would cause us to be unwilling to pay?
Political dysfunction, where you have Congress periodically threatening to default, playing around with the debt ceiling limit and saying things like, well, maybe it wouldn't be so bad after all if, we didn't raise the debt ceiling limit and we actually missed a few payments.
Oh, you mean we'd have to admit we're broke? That unless we rack up even more debt, we'll default. Oh, I see.
Of course, it would be bad. It would be catastrophic, which is why we never do it.
It's already catastrophic. It's just that you don't realize it yet. There's no way out of this mess, with or without MMT. It's just that your MMT makes it gargantuanly worse.
So if there is is there a scenario in which the U.S. defaults on its debt like Greece did in 2015? Would that be something more political than economic?
It would be entirely political.
Wrong. It's both. At this point, our central bank and federal government are essentially inseparable. Yes, I know that technically the Fed is a private organization. Read The Creature from Jekyll Island to learn about its nefarious origins if you haven't already. But in reality, the government and the Fed, now function as one. Whatever the government spends, our Fed will print.
Remember what Greece did in 2001 is that it abandoned its currency, which was the drachma. So Greece started borrowing in a currency that it can't issue. And so along with Italy and Spain and Portugal and the rest of these countries, there is legitimate default risk, but not here in the US.
I'm so sorry.
Not sure if you caught what she said at the very end when the interviewer cut her off. Not here in the US. No way, we're good. We won't abandon our currency. We'll just debase it into oblivion, which is exactly what will happen following these woke MMTers. This is insanity, people. We stand to lose everything. Our debt in America is the biggest in the world, and you can't simply redefine the word to mean something else and make it all unicorns and rainbows. MMT promises the moon and ushers in disaster on a platter. In a nutshell, MMT argues that our powerful central bank, the Federal Reserve, the Fed, should, in fact, print as much and as fast and as hard as they can because it's a good thing. We should embrace the national debt. We should love it. Folks, MMT is a lie. All right. And this is why I stack silver and gold, precious metals. This is real, tangible money. It's wealth insurance. It's a hedge against runaway governments, out of control central banks, and MMT nut jobs like Stephanie Kelton. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share it with someone that doesn't know what this blasphemy is called MMT. And as always, I hope your day is A-OK.